Evan always believed that betrayal was something that happened to other people, strangers in online stories, distant acquaintances, faces blurred by time. Never to him, never to Leah. For 7 years they had lived in a rhythm that felt almost scripted: morning coffee together, quiet car rides to work, Friday dinners at the same Italian place where the owner still forgot Evan's name but remembered Leah's favorite wine. But routines have a cruel habit: they can hide fractures too small to see until the whole surface gives way. The first sign wasn't dramatic. It wasn't lipstick on a collar, hushed phone calls, or a sudden change in Leah's perfume. It was a laugh, small, sharp, and not meant for him. Evan had come home early from a delayed client meeting, dropping his bag on the hallway floor. He expected silence. Instead, he heard Leah's voice from the living room, soft, bright, the version she used when she wanted to impress someone. "Stop," she whispered, laughing again. For a moment he froze. Then the front door creaked behind him, and the laughter vanished. A click, a screen going dark. The TV, a video call. He couldn't tell. "Oven," Leah said, walking out as if she had rehearsed the timing. "You're early." Her smile was harmless. Too harmless. "Yeah," he said. Meeting ended sooner than. A notification buzzed on her phone, lying face down on the table. She stepped past him quickly, placing her hand over it as if shielding it from the air. He noticed. She noticed that he noticed. "Spam," she said. He wanted to brush it off, to remain the calm, trusting man he'd always been. But something cold curled inside his stomach, a subtle, instinctive warning. Something's different. Over the next few days, Leah's behavior shifted by inches. Nothing blatant, nothing he could call out without sounding paranoid. But the changes were there. She guarded her phone. She smiled at messages she didn't share. She started going to the gym again at night. She wore a new shade of lipstick Evan didn't remember buying. He tried to quiet the thoughts. He failed. The moment that truly broke him wasn't loud or public. It happened on an ordinary Tuesday night. Leah was in the shower. Her phone lit up on the nightstand. He didn't mean to touch it. He didn't mean to unlock it. But the preview appeared without him doing anything at all. A name. A message. A thread of words that didn't belong to him. "Can't stop thinking about you last night." The world didn't explode. It simply tilted, slowly, like a glass sliding off a table in slow motion. His hands went numb. The air thickened. The water from the shower shut off, and that sound alone made his chest tighten. He placed the phone exactly where it had been. His reflection in the dark window stared back at him, looking older, hollow, almost unfamiliar. Leah stepped out moments later, towel around her hair, humming. She didn't notice anything was wrong. Maybe she didn't want to. "Evan, you okay?" she asked. "Say something. Ask her. Demand the truth." But he couldn't, not yet. "Just tired," he murmured. She leaned in to kiss him. A normal goodbye kiss for the night. But when her lips touched his, he felt it instantly, something he'd never felt before. Distance. Guilt. A love that had already started slipping away. Leah didn't notice. He did. And that was the moment the glass cracked completely. Emily woke up the next morning with a heaviness in her chest that felt almost physical, like someone had pressed a stone into her ribs while she slept. She lay still for a long minute, staring at the sunlight cutting across the ceiling. Normally, mornings in their apartment were warm coffee smells, the low hum of the city, Daniel shuffling around half awake. Instead, there was silence. A thick, unnatural silence. She reached across the bed. Cold sheets. Daniel had left early. Of course he had. Emily sat up slowly, pressing her hands to her face. She wished she could forget everything from yesterday: the strange tension at the restaurant, Daniel's evasive behavior, the way he seemed absent even when sitting across from her. But the worst part was the dream she'd had last night. Daniel standing in front of her, holding a phone behind his back, whispering something to someone she couldn't see. She woke with her heart racing, unsure where the dream ended, and her fears began. She dragged herself out of bed, made coffee she didn't want, and sat at the small kitchen table. The steam fogged her glasses. She looked at her phone, scrolling through unread messages, pretending she wasn't waiting for one specific notification. Daniel single quotes s. Nothing. She typed, "Did you get to work okay?" She erased it. She typed again, "We need to talk later." She erased it again. Her phone buzzed. For a second her stomach flipped, only to find a message from Chloe, her coworker and closest friend. "Chloe, how did yesterday go? You looked upset leaving work." Emily stared at the message. She thought about telling the truth, or at least the part she understood of it. But when she started typing, her thumb froze. She didn't know where to start. She didn't have proof, and admitting what she feared made it real. Instead, she replied, "Emily, fine. Just tired. Talk later." She set the phone down and pressed her fingers against the trembling muscle beneath her jaw. She hated how easily she lied about this, even to herself. Daniel, meanwhile, sat alone in his car in the office parking garage. He'd been there for 10 minutes. Engine off, forehead resting against the steering wheel. His chest felt tight, guilt crawling under his skin, clawing up his spine. He hadn't slept. Every time he closed his eyes, he saw Emily's face from last night, confused, hurt, searching him for something he didn't have the courage to say. His phone buzzed. A message. His breath caught. "Not Emily. Mara, did you tell her yet?" His fingers hovered over the screen. His pulse hammered. He hated how seeing Mara's name made something in him tighten, wanting but ashamed of wanting. He hated even more that he couldn't bring himself to end it, whatever it actually was. A few kisses, late-night conversations, 2 long looks. Emotional cheating was still cheating, and he knew it. He responded, "Daniel, no, not now." 3 dots appeared immediately, stopped, started again. "Mara, she deserves to know. We can't keep doing this like ghosts." He swallowed. She was right. But saying it out loud would break everything. He locked his phone and shoved it into his bag, as if getting rid of the screen meant getting rid of the situation. Then he forced himself out of the car. At home, Emily opened Daniel's laptop. It wasn't snooping, she told herself. She needed to check a shared file for work, something she did dozens of times. But the moment the screen lit up, her pulse quickened. The laptop asked for a password she knew. A password he gave her years ago. She typed it. The login accepted. The moment she saw the desktop, an ache pulled at her stomach, sharp and fast. Daniel had always been neat, almost obsessive with organization, folders labeled by date, projects sorted alphabetically. But today a folder sat on the desktop with a name that didn't fit them, just the letter. She stared at it. Her hand hovered over the trackpad. She knew she shouldn't. Her breath came unevenly. She clicked. Inside were photos, screenshots, a few short video clips, messages cropped, faint, blurred, but unmistakably affectionate. Her heart stopped. One photo made her blood run cold. Daniel standing too close to a woman she didn't recognize, dark hair, slim, smiling at him like she saw something in him Emily no longer did. His hand hovered near the woman's waist, not touching but close enough to burn. Emily closed the laptop so fast the screen whiplashed shut. She pushed it away as if it were something alive, something poisonous. Her chest rose and fell in shallow, panicked breaths. She dug her nails into her palms. The runes spun. It wasn't proof of physical betrayal, not yet, but emotional betrayal was still a cut deep enough to bleed. She grabbed her phone and stood up, pacing, shaking. Should she call him? Text him? Scream at him? Her phone buzzed. Daniel. Her heart stopped. "Daniel, I'll be home late today." Big meeting? A lie? She knew it instantly. Her fingers numbed around the phone. She typed with hands that barely felt like her own. "Emily, okay." She hated herself for the single word. Hours later, Daniel sat at his desk pretending to work. He couldn't focus. Not on spreadsheets, not on emails, not on the meeting he'd just lied about. Instead, he kept replaying Mara's message, her voice in his head telling him to choose. He had to end it or tell Emily. But he didn't know which choice terrified him more. Mara had been a moment of weakness, a comfort during months of drifting apart from Emily. What began as small talk turned into secrets, frustrations, confessions. One day he woke up realizing he looked forward to Mara's messages more than going home. It disgusted him. And yet, his phone lit again. "Mara, can we talk tonight? Please?" His throat tightened. He typed, "Daniel, not tonight." The three dots appeared, then disappeared. No reply. He exhaled, ran both hands through his hair, and whispered to no one, "What am I doing?" Emily sat on the floor of the living room, knees pulled to her chest. She stared at the dark window, her reflection faint and ghostlike. She thought of everything: their first date, Daniel's cheesy jokes, the way he used to wake her with soft kisses. She wondered when all of that had faded, when she stopped being enough, when he started needing someone else. The front door clicked. Emily froze. Her heart surged painfully into her throat. Daniel stepped inside, exhausted, distracted. He kicked off his shoes with barely a glance toward her. Then he saw her. "Em?" His voice wavered. "You're still awake?" She looked at him, not angry, not crying, just empty. "Yeah," she whispered. "We need to talk." Daniel's entire body tensed. He knew. She knew. And the truth, whatever shape it took, was about to shatter the fragile surface they'd been pretending to stand on. The morning after the confrontation felt like waking up inside someone else's life. The apartment was too quiet, the air too clean, as if the argument had burned all the oxygen out of it. Mark stood in the kitchen staring at the cold coffee in his mug, unable to take a sip. His hands were steady, but inside everything shook. He replayed every word Emma had said the night before. It meant nothing, but how could something meaningless tear through him like this? He wondered if the truth was that it meant everything, just not in a way she could admit. He heard her footsteps before he saw her, slow and sure, like she was walking through water. Emma stopped at the kitchen door, wrapped in one of his shirts. Her eyes were swollen from crying, but she tried to hold herself together, as if appearances could glue anything back. "Mark," she said softly. He didn't answer right away. He finally turned, and for the first time since yesterday, she saw the full damage etched across his face. "I didn't sleep," he muttered. "I know." She stepped closer, but he moved aside instinctively. The tiny shift stabbed her more sharply than any shouted accusation. "I want to explain properly," she continued, voice trembling. "Not excuses. An explanation." He let out a bitter laugh. "You think explanation makes betrayal sound prettier?" "No," she replied. "But maybe it helps you understand how I broke." Her admission stopped him. It was the first time she had framed her actions as destruction, her destruction. Not just his. Emma pulled out a chair but didn't sit. "I didn't go looking for someone else. I swear that. But I was lonely. Even when you were here." Mark flinched. "So, it's my fault." "No," she said quickly. "But I felt invisible. You were working all the time, and I tried to be supportive. But somewhere along the way I started feeling like a background character in my own life." He pressed his palm to his forehead. "Why didn't you tell me? I tried. But every time, you were too stressed or too tired." And then Daniel. She stopped herself, as if saying his name had left a bad taste in her mouth. He listened. Mark's jaw tightened. "Congratulations to him." She closed her eyes. "I'm not defending it. I'm telling you how I became someone capable of doing something I never imagined." Silence filled the room, heavy, suffocating. Finally, Mark spoke. "Did you love him?" The question twisted something inside her. "No, no, Mark. It wasn't love. It was escape. A doorway I never should have walked through, but you did." He wasn't screaming anymore. That made it worse. His quiet voice carried more pain than anger ever could. "Was it just once?" Emma hesitated, not because she meant to lie, but because the truth was a cut she didn't know how to place. "Twice." Mark froze. The world seemed to shrink to the space between them. "That's it," she whispered. "It ended months ago. I blocked him. I tried to bury it. I tried to convince myself it didn't matter because I chose you. I stayed with you. I thought it would fade if I pretended it never happened." Mark stared at her like he didn't recognize the woman in front of him. You buried it so deep you forgot it was poisoning us? She covered her face with her hands. I'm so sorry. He walked past her, pacing because standing still felt impossible. I don't know what to do. I don't know what you want from me. I want U.S., Emma whispered. But I understand if you can't give that anymore. He looked at her then, not with love, not with hate, but with a kind of exhausted honesty. You broke something that doesn't fix easily. Maybe it doesn't fix at all. Her breath hitched. Please don't say that. What am I supposed to say? He shot back. That I forgive you instantly. That we can pretend this never happened. That I'm fine. She shook her head. I don't want pretending. I want the truth. The truth, he said slowly, is that I don't know how to look at you without seeing it. I don't know how to hold you without wondering what he touched. I don't know how to kiss you without tasting betrayal. Emma felt her knees weaken, but she held onto the edge of the table to keep from collapsing. Then Mark's voice softened, unexpectedly. But I also don't know how to stop loving you. That was the wound that hurt the most because love didn't erase damage. It only made it more complicated. Emma stepped closer again, cautiously, as if approaching a wild animal. If there's even a chance, a small chance, I'll fight for us. Mark trembled at the vulnerability in her voice, at the sincerity, at the regret that seemed to cling to her every breath. You should have fought before you threw us away, he replied. I know, and I don't want you fighting out of guilt. She blinked back tears. I'm fighting because I still choose you. Mark exhaled shakily. I need time. I'll give you everything you need, she said. Time, space, answers, anything. He finally sat down, exhausted. I can't promise I'll stay. Emma lowered into the chair across from him. I'm not asking for a promise. I'm asking for a chance. There was a long pause, thick with all the unsaid things between them. Mark's voice was nearly a whisper. I'm scared. Emma reached out slowly, stopping just short of his hand. Me too. For the first time since the truth came out, they both looked at each other not as victims, not as villains, but as two broken people standing in the ruins of something they still desperately wished to salvage. But the crack between them was deep, wide enough to swallow everything if one wrong step was taken. And yet, the fact that they were both still there, still talking, still trying, that was something. Not forgiveness, not healing, but something, a beginning or the long, painful start of an ending they hadn't admitted yet. The apartment felt colder the moment Elena closed the door behind her. Mark stood frozen in the middle of the living room, unsure whether to follow her, call her back, or let the silence hang like a sentence neither of them wanted to read out loud. His thoughts twisted like wires pulled too tight, each memory of Elena replaying with unbearable sharpness her smile, her voice, the way she used to lean into him when she talked. And now all of it felt poisoned. He finally sat down on the edge of the couch, elbows on his knees, face buried in his hands. He tried to breathe, but his lungs fought him. Everything inside him screamed the same sentence. I'm losing her. The message from Daniel still burned in his mind. The photo, the certainty, the details that matched too neatly. He wanted to believe it was all a misunderstanding, some stupid coincidence or malicious trick, but Elena's reaction was to react defensive, and the way she laughed. It reminded him of guilt, not innocence. He didn't move for nearly an hour. When he finally stood up, he walked into the hallway and noticed something lying on the floor near the wall. Her bracelet, the one he gave her 2 years ago on their anniversary. She never took it off. He'd picked it up slowly, almost reverently, like he was lifting a wounded animal. That small silver band felt heavier than metal should. He knew he had to find her, not to accuse her, not to drag out the fight, but because the silence between them felt too dangerous to leave unattended. He left the apartment, the city night swallowing him as he descended the stairs. Rain had started to fall, thin, cold lines that made everything reflect the streetlights like broken glass. He walked fast, not sure where she might have gone, but his body moved as if it already knew. He checked the cafe where she often hid when she needed space. Empty. He checked the riverside road where she liked to walk when she was angry. No sign of her. He called her phone. No answer. He tried again. Voicemail. By the time he reached the old bridge at the edge of their neighborhood, he was already soaked through. The sound of rushing water below drowned the city noise, leaving only the echo of rain hitting metal. And then he saw her. She stood by the railing, arms wrapped around herself, staring at the dark river like she was searching for something in its depths. Her hair clung to her face, soaked by the rain. For a moment, she looked so fragile, so painfully alone, that Mark felt something sharp twist in his chest. He approached quietly, not wanting to startle her. Elena. She didn't turn. You shouldn't have followed me. I had to. She closed her eyes, rain running down her cheeks like tears she refused to show. You're hurting, and I'm the reason. He stepped closer, but not too close. Then tell me the truth, please. Slowly, she inhaled long, shaky, resigned. When she finally turned to face him, her expression was a battlefield, guilt, fear, exhaustion, and something else he couldn't name. Mark, I didn't want it to happen. I swear to you I never planned anything. I never thought I'd be capable of this. His heart clenched. So it did happen. She flinched like he'd hit her. Once, a mistake. A moment I regret more than anything. I've been trying to forget it, bury it, pretend it didn't happen. But you kept getting closer, kept being good to me, and the guilt got heavier. And today, it just spilled over. Mark gripped the railing, knuckles white. The rain made it hard to breathe. Who? She hesitated too long. Elena. Who was it? Her voice broke. Someone from work. And that's it? Mark asked. Nothing more. No ongoing messages. No meetings. Her silence was the answer he feared. Elena? Look at me. She did barely. Is there something still happening? No, she whispered. Not anymore. But the way her voice trembled made doubt crawl under his skin. Mark pressed his palm to his face, dragging it down slowly. Why didn't you tell me? Why would you keep pretending everything was fine? Because I was scared, she said helplessly. I didn't want to lose you. You didn't want to lose me. His voice rose raw. Elena, you already. He stopped himself, biting down the rest of the sentence. She wiped her face, though it made no difference in the rain. I know I hurt you. I know I broke something important. But I still love you, Mark. I do. I never stopped. He laughed, a hollow, shaky sound. I don't even know what that means anymore. She stepped toward him, hesitant. Please, I'm begging you. Don't walk away. Tell me what to do. Tell me how to fix this. I'll do anything. Just don't let this end. He stared at her, really stared. She looked destroyed. Not defensive, not angry, not manipulative, just broken. And despite the pain, despite the betrayal, part of him still wanted to reach out and pull her close. But another part kept whispering, what if it happens again? Elena, he said, his voice quiet. I'm not sure fixing this is possible. Her breath hitched like she'd been stabbed. Don't say that. I'm being honest. I don't want honesty, she cried. I want you. I want us. For a long moment, neither of them moved. Rain hammered the metal railing, the river roared beneath, and the night stood witness to a love being dismantled piece by fragile piece. Finally, Mark whispered, I need time. How much time? I don't know. Will you come home? She asked, voice shaking. Tonight. No, her face twisted in pain. So, is this the beginning of the end? I don't want it to be, he said, but I can't pretend nothing happened. Not after this. She pressed her hands to her face, shoulders trembling. He stepped forward as if to comfort her, then stopped himself. That hurt her more than anything else. Good night, Elena, he said softly, and before she could reach for him, he turned and walked away. The sound of his footsteps swallowed by the rain behind him. She whispered into the storm, please don't let this be the last time you walk away from me. The night was cold, unusually so, as if the city itself sensed the last unraveling of everything they had built. The wind scraped against the windows of Daniel's apartment, carrying with it a strange heaviness, something between silence and warning. Inside, the dim light of a single lamp cast long shadows across the floor. Emily sat at the far end of the couch, hands trembling, as Daniel stood near the door like a guard who wasn't sure if he was protecting something or finally letting it go. He hadn't said a word since she arrived. Not a greeting, not a question. He only watched her with the quiet intensity of a man who no longer expected truth, but wanted to hear it anyway. Daniel. Her voice cracked, as if she had walked miles just to speak his name. I know you don't owe me anything anymore, but you deserve the whole truth. He nodded slightly, though his jaw tightened. Then say it, all of it. Emily exhaled, defeated. I didn't just sleep with him because I was angry, or because I was confused. I did it because I felt like I was losing myself. We were falling apart, and instead of fighting for us, I ran into the first person who made me feel seen. Daniel turned his head away, the words cutting through him, not sharply, but slowly, painfully, like a blade dragged across old wounds. And did he asked, see you? For a moment, she whispered. But it wasn't real. It wasn't deep. It wasn't. U.S. Daniel laughed bitterly, the sound hollow. Us? You say that like the word still means anything. She closed her eyes. It does, to me. Even now. He stepped closer, stopping just a meter away. She could see the exhaustion in his eyes, not physical, but emotional, the kind that comes from months of trying to understand where everything went wrong. I tried, Emily, he said softly. God knows I tried. I replayed every memory, every moment, wondering when I failed you. When I stopped being enough. You didn't, she said quickly, tears forming. You never stopped being enough. I was the one who. He raised a hand. Don't, please, I can't hear you blame yourself. Because part of me still wants to fix it. Even after everything, part of me still. He swallowed. Still loves you. The confession hit her harder than anger ever could. She stood slowly approaching him, but careful, as if he might break. Then let me earn it back. Let me fight this time. Let me try. A long silence, heavy and movable. Do you trust me? She asked. Daniel looked at her for a full, agonizing 10 seconds. Not with the eyes of a man deciding whether he still loved a woman, but of someone deciding whether loving her again was worth the risk of destroying himself. Finally, he spoke. No. The word shattered her breath, but she didn't look away. Can we rebuild it? He hesitated. I don't know. And then, the first genuine honesty between them in months formed quietly in the space between their broken pieces. Emily stepped even closer. Daniel, I'm not asking you to forget. I'm asking you to let us start over. Not where we were, but here, now, with everything we've learned. He looked down, struggling. I want to hate you. I really do. It would be easier, cleaner. His voice cracked. But I don't. A tear slipped down her cheek. Daniel reached out slowly, uncertainly, and wiped it away. His touch burned her with familiarity. This can't go back to what it was, he said. We're not those people anymore. I know, she whispered. But maybe we can become better ones. He breathed in, loudly, deeply, a man standing at the edge of a cliff, deciding whether to jump or turn back. Then finally, okay, he said. One chance. Not because you asked for it, but because I want to see if we can build something real this time. Emily's knees nearly buckled with relief. I won't waste it. You already did, he said quietly, but without cruelty. This time, just don't repeat it. I won't, ever. He believed her cautiously. Not fully, but enough for a beginning. Daniel stepped back, offering her his hand as if inviting her into a new chapter neither of them knew how to write yet. She took it, for the first time in months. They didn't feel like two people drowning separately, but two people learning how to breathe again. Even if the air was unfamiliar, even if everything hurt, healing wouldn't be quick. Forgiveness wouldn't be simple. Trust wouldn't come easily. But they walked toward the kitchen together, the slightest hint of warmth returning between them. Fragile, uncertain, but alive. And sometimes, that's enough to begin again. End of story.